Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Fifth People Board Game Podcast. We're a group of diverse friends who offer our takes on the latest and greatest board games to hit our table. I'm your host, Chris, the intellectual introvert, and I'm joined today by the Collector.
Hey, this is David.
And the Deluxeifier.
Hello, it's Pete.
Today, we are off to the races. We'll start at the track, electing entrants to try for trophies, moving our crazy characters around tricky tracks as they try to prove they really are a magical athlete. Then, we'll take you out to the ball game, placing wild wagers on maniacal mascots, betting our bottom dollar, and hoping to hit a hot streak. And finally, because we just can't help ourselves, we'll complete the Trifecta, facing them off in our ultimate showdown, the Battle of the Funnest. But before we get on our marks and get set to go, David, what's our topic of discussion for today?
Yeah, so today's topic's a little bit funny, a little bit gimmicky since we're having some fun with these games today, but the topic is this. If a dice rolls off the table and lands on the floor when rolling, does it still count? The age-old question. What do you guys think?
First of all, you have to drink because that's part of the rules. Dice go off the table, you drink. Wait, that's a different game. Yeah, usually dice got to be on the table when you roll. Even, when they're kind of off a little bit, it rolls off of the board, but it's still kind of on there and teetering. That's a tough call. I don't know.
Yeah, for me, I think generally speaking, if it's not on the table, it shouldn't count. But I think it's just a matter of call it before you see it. And usually if it goes off the table, that doesn't count, or make some kind of declaration before you see it. Because after you see it, then it's an ethics test at that point. So
it's a do-over.
Yeah, how about if it's like teetering? It's like on edge. What do you do then?
You try to bang the table in the right direction, right? And act like it just so happened to fall a certain way.
I'm trying to think. There was a game that I played. It was where you threw dice in this little bowl and they would bounce out, but you can actually knock them. If there was a rule that if it wasn't leveling flat, that it didn't count. I'm trying to think of what the name of the game was, but it was one that I had and I think I got rid of it.
Well, what's your take, David? How do you?
I normally say, I think you should re-roll the dice or the one that fell off the table. Or do you make them re-roll both of the dice if there's two dice? I normally just make them re-roll whatever dice fell off the table so that it's in fair view of everybody else. But
yeah, to me, it's just the one that went off the table. That the other ones. It's actually an interesting question, though, because it's just like any other rule that is unclear. It's agree on the rules before it happens, because once it happens and you're dealing with it real time, everybody's going to have an opinion that magically favors themselves when they decide what should be done.
Yeah, there was some heated debate. I saw this on an online forum, and there is very heated debate about what should and should not happen. And I was just laughing. So thought I'd bring it up, see if you guys have a real opinion. But there's some strong opinions on what should actually happen. Because somebody was trying to say that you have to roll all the dice together. They don't let people roll each one separately if they have multiple dice, one at a time. I guess unspoken rules. I don't know. So
okay, so here you go. If you're supposed to roll maybe 5 dice and you roll 4 and the one goes off the table, now you have this one to roll and you don't like what's on the table. Do you roll that one die into the other ones and try to change what they are, right? Is that still legal?
According to the people online, no.
Okay, I may have done that before.
The simple rule is play games that don't have dice, and then you won't have the problem.
It's one way to do it.
Man.
All right. Well, thanks, David. Those are our opinions on dice rolling, especially when they go off the table. But would love to know what the rest of y'all out there have to say. Let us know by sending us an email at thefifthmeeple@gmail.com, following us on social media, or checking out our website at fifthmeeple.com. And if you really want to help us grow, spread the word, tell your friends about our podcast, and leave a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever it is you listen. All right, well, I think I heard the starter pistol, so let's race on into our discussion of Magical Athlete. Magical Athlete is a 2 to 6 player roll and move racing game where crazy characters with game-breaking abilities compete to be the first to cross the finish line. During setup, players draft team members from a deck of 36 cards, taking the corresponding tokens to build their team. At the start of each race, players choose one team member to represent them or 2 characters for 2 and 3 player games. Players then take turns rolling their die, moving their character around the track, and taking the action shown on the space where they land. However, each character has a special ability, like tripping other characters when they pass or eating them if they land on your space, so crazy things happen quite often. Each race ends when the second character crosses the finish line. Magical Athlete consists of 4 races, 2 on each side of the race board. Players earn points from trophies gained when finishing first or second in a race, and from points awarded to them by landing on certain spaces on the racetrack. The player with the most points wins the game and goes running on the beach with chariots of fire blasting in the background. Magical Athlete was designed by Richard Garfield and Takashi Ishida and was most recently published in 2025 by CMYK. All right, guys, Magical Athlete, pretty interesting game. What is it about Magical Athlete in your mind that makes it a winner?
Basically, I feel that this game is a roll and move type game, but what makes it so magical is all those special abilities that every character has. I think there's like 30 characters that you can draft in this game, and those characters' special abilities and how they interact with each other for just what is a simple mechanic of just you roll a dice on your turn, I think is hilarious how everything kind of chains off of each other and all this wacky stuff happens just because you're rolling a dice and moving your guy based off the abilities that every player has, which I think makes it really fun and something that's really unique to take such a simple premise, and yet every game's getting more complicated. This game seems like, hey, let's go back to the basics, roll and move, and we'll make it fun by adding in special powers. And I think it does a really good job of showing you what a game can be. It doesn't have to be all about the crazy mechanics. It could take something and distill it down and still have a very memorable experience that's fun for gamers and non-gamers.
Yeah, I like that you're always engaged in the game. You're watching it, whether you're rolling the dice or somebody else is, because you never know what those interactions, as David said, there's a whole bunch of different characters. And when you blindly pick, or not blindly, but you pick who you're going to run in the race, and you don't know what everybody else is. So when you flip those cards over, you just never know what those interactions are going to be. So you're always watching for them, and you never know what to expect. And then you see people are out ahead, and we always talk about the banter, being able to talk and table talk. And this is one where, like, I need to roll a 2. I need to roll a 2 and bounce him back. And I enjoy that part of the game because I really feel like I'm involved in the race one way or the other, even if I'm just trying to get in somebody's head and try to have them do something that I want them to do.
Yeah, and if you tell me, hey, I've got a game, it's a roll and move game with player elimination, I'm probably going to say I don't want to play that game at all. And yet you get this game out and you're having a blast pretty much as soon as you start at the table. And the other thing I think that they do really well is it's not just each of those guys has a special power. It's a special power that's fun or funny in some way. And like you said, David, they do interact with each other somehow. And it's not just, oh, my guy can do this. It's done in a way that's hilarious, right? And even I think I had one guy that was the heckler, and it was every time someone had a bad roll, I laughed at them, and then I moved forward too. And so it's pretty good theme that way as well. That's what I like about the game, is just the fact that, and we're going to talk about this in this game too, you start this game and you're laughing pretty much from the time it starts to the time it's over.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, one of my favorite moments of this game, especially teaching new players this game, is that, spoiler alert, so if you don't want to hear it, skip over the next 10 seconds, but the fact that you race that first race and then everybody's like, they think they know what's going to happen, and you just flip over the board. There's a whole nother side to the board, and just seeing people's faces, it's kind of gimmicky, kind of a dad joke, but it's a good one, for people that have never played it before. That's my favorite part, is when I'm teaching this game, is to flip over that board and see everybody's surprised looks, because we're going to keep going. I feel like it's a cheesy dad joke, which I'm glad to be a part of.
One thing I want to say too is that the races are pretty fast. They're less than 10 minutes from start to finish. And you do 4 different races. So each time, as David said, you flip over the board, and then you flip it back, and then you go one more time. So those races only last 10 minutes, if that. Some of them might even go faster than that, depending upon what kind of characters are out there. Because there's some that, there was one game where it took a lot longer because I think I kept dragging everybody back, or we're rolling really terrible. And then there's other times where, people are jumping way ahead, and wow, he's moving, 4 times or whatever. And so the race is very unpredictable, but they go very quick. And as we said before, you're engaged in it. You're laughing, you're having a good time, and you're rooting for other people to do good and do bad at the same time. So it just depends where you're at on that track.
Yeah. The other thing interesting to me, as I'm reflecting back on all of our plays, it's like if they're all overpowered. Every single one of those special powers is overpowered. They're semi-game breaking. And what's interesting to me is when someone else has a character, I look at it and say, well, my goodness, how am I supposed to beat someone when they're that character? character. But when I'm that character, I don't feel that way. I'm still looking at the other characters and say, how am I supposed to beat that character? Which tells me they're all overpowered, maybe evenly so. And it just leads to a fun time.
Oh, yeah.
All right, guys. Well, anything about Magical Athlete that makes you feel like you just maybe stepped on a banana peel?
Well, I'll start. The thing that trips me up in this game is basically there are a lot of different characters, and trying to know what those characters do. I think we spend probably a quarter of the game, especially with new players, just explaining what those character cards are, because you go through that draft and not knowing what those are, and you're trying to explain it, and people don't exactly know that how that interaction is going to work. After you've played it a couple times, it does go a lot quicker. But I think the initial play on that, and it's worth it taking that few extra minutes to explain it, because after that first race and they have their other three characters that they're going to choose from, they may think of it a little bit differently. So that's the one thing. I just think there's a little bit of front loaded on how these characters are, which ones come out. It gets even tougher when we go to how they interact with each other, because there could be some infinite loops that happen, but that's my biggest thing about the game.
Yeah, and they tell you if you get into an infinite loop, just run it once and then call it done. But it seems like we've run into, maybe not on every game, but on a lot of games, we're like, okay, we got to figure out how we're going to interpret this. And there's a lot of this is how you interpret this rule type things. On a game that should just kind of go fast and be fun, you shouldn't have to stop to figure out, okay, what do I do here?
Yeah. I mean, I agree with both those comments. I definitely think there is a little bit of front loading on this game. The other thing is, if you play this game quite a lot, which I played recently, I feel like I've been playing this game quite often, is I wish there's just more maps, just one of those things. I was recently looking on Board Game Geek to see if people have put other files, and there does look like there's definitely some fan-made maps that, you can print out, which look pretty interesting. And then there's a list that somebody just put out recently for 350 characters that they made for this game that you can print out with powers. So kind of want to explore that now that I see this online here.
All fully play tested, I'm sure. They're perfectly balanced and well play tested.
Yeah, there's a racetrack for, you could have 12 racers in a single race. That looks pretty interesting.
Have you played this, David, with 2 players or 3 players where you're supposed to be controlling 2 different players at the same time?
I have not. It's just not a game I guess I grab when there's only 2 or 3 of us there.
Yeah.
It's mostly a higher player count game that, I'm grabbing this game for. So yeah. No, I haven't.
I don't know that I have many other beefs in this. I don't own it, but I look at your copy of it, David, and it's like all the tokens are just kind of in a paper bag almost, where there's it's not like the perfect production. I don't think it's supposed to be, but it's not a great production, other than the fact, hey, those are wooden pieces. They're pretty cool tokens, but then the storage solution is not the best.
Yeah, I'll chime in here as the Deluxeifier. I really do like the different characters. They're screen printed on both sides. You can see who they are. Again, as you pull the cards out, you got to try to find, well, which meeples go with them. But I'm a little disappointed in the scoring stars that they have. They're not even big cardboard. They're little tiny cardboard stars, and I would rather just use poker chips if I'm going to count stuff. Quite honestly, that would be the only drawback. But again, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's a cheesy game, but it fits the theme of the game.
All right, David, let's go to the collector's corner. This is a pretty new game. Came out in 2025, but if we go to the collector's corner, what do we see?
Yeah, so it's actually a remake of the older version. So there was a version that came out first. It was called Magical Athlete. They did a reskin on it. I think they upgraded a lot of the components, but originally that hard to find version, because there wasn't a lot of copies out, the secondary market was really expensive for this game. I want to say it was upwards like 70 to 100 bucks just to find a copy of the original version. I think CMYK, they introduced this one here, and right now you can buy it on Amazon for $29.99, which compared to what the older version is, I actually like the artwork a little bit better on this version. I feel like the components, even though Pete just went on a rant about the stars, which I agree with, and the metals, but I think they're a lot better than the first version I've seen pictures of, at least. But for that price, I think it's really good. I couldn't find any secondary used sales of this game anywhere. So right now it's probably just because it just came on the presses. It's pretty hot, but it's $29.99. Almost across the board.
I did not see that coming. I was thinking it was a little more than that, and I'm thinking when we're done recording here, I was going to we'll give your final thoughts now. I'll start. I like this game. I was going to say I don't see myself buying it though, but I can see this being a fun game to play when you've got a decent number of people, or even just my family of 4. If we're all at home, I can see getting this out and us having a good time. And at $30, I think I may be dropping $30 when this recording's over. So I enjoyed this game. Pete, final thoughts?
Yeah, I do like the game. I think it's fun. I'm not sure it's going to replace anything for me that I currently use. I'm going to throw Camel up out there for both of these games that we're going to talk about, but I do enjoy it. I have a good time. Would I go out and buy it? Maybe. I talk about playing, the playtime on this. I said it's about 10 minutes per round. So it's about 15 2 minutes long for me to play at work, which I think they would really enjoy it because it is pretty fun with the interactions and things like that. But good game. I will play this happily.
Yeah, my final thoughts on this game. I really enjoy this game. I just can't wait to go back in there. I don't think I've played all 30 characters yet, so I just want to see them all kind of come out. There's so many in that bag. So I'm always excited to see who comes out in that draft. And then if I see a bad one, I'll sometimes throw it back in when nobody's looking, just so I can get a different guy out there. To me, this game is screaming for an expansion already. That's just my opinion. I played the base game quite a bit. I'm ready for new maps. I'm ready for some more characters and ready to dive back in. So if they're listening, I think you should print some more content because I'm willing to buy.
All right, thanks, David. And you know what? That giant mouth meeple over there is looking a bit too threatening for me right now. So let's run on over to our discussion of Hot Streak. Hot Streak is a 2 to 9 player betting, bluffing, and racing party game where degenerate gamblers wager their hard-earned cash on mascot races. Yeah, you heard that right. The game board consists of a 4-lane racetrack with 4 sports team mascots competing in the race, and a deck of 53 cards with instructions like Gobbler moves 2 or Hurley turns around. Building a starting race deck of 10 to 15 cards is the first part, and then the dealer displays those cards face up for everyone to see. Each player then gets a hand of 3 cards and secretly chooses 1 to add to the race deck. Using that information, players then place 2 bets in snake draft order, either choosing a mascot they think will win or placing a side bet, which is randomly chosen from another deck before each race. Once all bets are placed, the race deck is shuffled and 3 cards are burned to the side. The remaining cards are then flipped over one at a time, taking the actions shown, moving the mascots in a variety of crazy ways. If the deck runs out, the cards are reshuffled, the mat folds up, potentially engulfing 1 or more mascots, and play continues until 3 mascots have either completed the race or have been disqualified. Payouts are then made for each of the placed bets. Before the second and third races, each player receives a random card from the race deck, then again chooses 1 of the 3 cards in their hand to place back into the race deck before the madness ensues again. After 3 races, the player with the most money wins the game, but likely then blows all of their winnings on an all-night bender. Hot Streak was designed by John Perry and was first published in 2025 by CMYK. All right, guys, what is it about Hot Streak that makes you want to bet it all on it coming out on top?
Well, I'll start on this one. The game does take some of the mechanics that I do like when it comes to betting with this game. It's similar to Camel Up, which is one of the games I really do enjoy, where you actually do get to influence the race a little bit, somewhat indirectly in this one, though. And the betting on, it's always fun to place bets. And they have different bets that you can place bets on, and those are random, too. David will probably talk a little bit more about the different types, but we flip one of the bets over and it might say, I don't know, something like, who's going to come in second or something like that. But each round, there's a different bets to place. And I think that's pretty unique on the game and makes it a little bit fun and different each time.
Yeah, so kind of like Pete was saying, there's a side bet that comes out that's basically a yes or no question. You can bet on that. And then obviously all the characters to win or whatever you're going for there. But I like this game because I think this game is just really, it's simple. There's not actually a lot of front loading. I feel like this is a game you teach as you play. You don't really have to explain more than just kind of like, hey, this is what we're doing. Just grab a bet on the table, whatever the case is. You can kind of see the starting deck, up there. But I really enjoy the game. I love the artwork. I love the unique box that it comes in. It's just a game that screams like, I want to pull this off the shelf and put this on the table because it's just the way it looks. It's very unique compared to a lot of the other games and how they come in.
Yeah, you talk about table presses. We played this for the first time, David, at Origins, and okay, you might walk past a table that is the typical, okay, there's chits everywhere, maybe it's Terraforming Mars and there's chits and all that. Then you look at the next table over and there's this like 3-inch tall toy figures and people just laughing hilariously all around it. Completely different type of game, obviously, but that's what I like about it. It is just absolute craziness, fun, action from the time you start until the time it's done. And it is absolutely hilarious to watch those things move along, trip each other, and great moments of the hot dog Hurley is right about to go across the finish line. You're sitting there gloating, you're going to win. And the next card that comes out is Hurley turns around, right? And then that Hurley moves 3 spaces comes up, and it's just everybody laughing at you while you just watch your winnings all kind of dwindle away.
Exactly. I love it.
Yeah, the production value on this thing is really amazing, as you said. I have it written down here. To me, it's almost toyish to the point where it's like I could see, these little characters probably in a tub of toys that my boys used to play with when they were little. And to pull something out like that and play with it's just good fun. The other thing about the game that I do like is, trying to influence the game, because you have your hand of cards, and each round you're going to take a card. Is it 1 card or 2 cards, and you're going to put it into the deck, and that's going to get all shuffled up, and a couple are going to come out. So you think you might be influencing it, plus you don't know what other people are trying to do. Then you watch them bet, and you're like, man, this is not going to be good for me. I made wrong bets here. Bad decisions were made. So, but that's part of the fun of the game. And I think this is one, we talk about, Chris, you don't like to have, some control over this one. You might as well just go to the horse track and bet on the blue number 2, because that's about all it comes down to when all said and done and the race starts.
Yeah, it tries to convince you that you have some sort of influence, and you don't.
It's all mind games, I think.
Yeah. The other thing I was going to say is I think one of the other kind of unique things on this game, because as we talked about, you think you have influence on the game, but you don't. But one of the kind of the unique, or I guess I wouldn't call it gimmicky, but one person is assigned to move the characters. Another person's assigned to flip the cards. Another person is assigned to give the payouts and that, which I think kind of gets you involved in the game. I always talk, I like a game that I'm interacting with it. And this one, like I said, you're sitting back in the stands watching what happens after you made those decisions. So I think that's kind of neat that they kind of give each person a job, and there's like, no, don't touch that. That's my job. So I'll just throw that in there, that I think that's kind of unique. And again, goes with the theme of the game. You're trying to get everybody involved and having a good time.
Yeah, I think they stole that from Monopoly. No, I'm just messing. Who's the banker? Who's the handler? Yeah, exactly. But no, I agree. Getting people involved is always fun, especially whoever handles it. I always feel like they have a good time moving those characters around, because they're just so fun to want to touch and move. Another part I like about this game is that at the end, even if you lose, because I tend to lose a lot of this game for some reason, but I like that at the back of the rule book, they have a kind of a fortune. So whatever your score is at the end, how much money you have, there's a designated page you can go to, and it has, what happened to you later in life. And I just think that is such an added touch. They didn't have to do that, but it's something that definitely, every time I play the game, I'm like, I want to know what happened to my character, no matter if I won or if I lost, like what actually happened to me. And I think the storylines there, they're like normally just like a 1-line sentence of what happened in your life, but they're pretty funny.
Yeah, it's one of the best parts, right? Finding out, okay, I came out with $57, but I blew it all on, some all-night donut party or something. I don't know, I made that up, but those kind of things.
Yeah, I think one time I got hit with one of those shirt gun things, and something happened that I couldn't have kids or something like that. It was pretty funny.
Anything about Hot Streak that maybe makes you feel like it's a fool's bet?
Yeah, we kind of talked about this a little bit. Once that race starts, you're just along for the ride. You have no other influence on it, and you just see what comes out, see what the deck brings you. And I think that's probably the downside about it. But like I said, what they try to do is, get other people interacting with it. Okay, you're moving the things. So I think I think the only thing that kind of disappoints me a little bit, I wish I had some, it's just the gamer in me. I wish I had some kind of more influence than that perceived influence of putting a card in, and I put him in. He's, what's his name? One of the guys, he's going to move 3 turns and I'm going to win this game, and the card never makes it into the deck. So, but again, you keep building that deck, because now, well, next time I didn't see my card, did it not show up because we didn't go through the deck, or, did it get pulled out? So again, just not having as much agency over the game. But again, you're betting on a race. So That's what the game is at the heart. So don't try to overplay the game.
You're not betting on a race, you're betting on a mascot race.
I mean, it would be kind of fun if you had some asymmetric powers or something where you have to spend money and then you can maybe influence more at the cost of maybe some value. So maybe there's an idea there, Pete. But, the one thing that I would say about this game is that I've played it quite often now, like quite a few times. And I would say sometimes the races, for whatever reason, they do fall a little flat sometimes because you don't really know what kind of cards are. So you might have a couple lame races. Hopefully that doesn't happen on a first playthrough. But I've played it enough now where I've seen, a race just be kind of dull. Like it just nothing really special happened. And that's just kind of luck of the draw with the cards. But it is unfortunate, I think, when it does happen because you want those interactions, especially because normally this is hitting the table when I have a lot of new people to gaming or, I'm in some sort of party atmosphere. And so I would say, when that happens, it's not always a great feeling, but it's not necessarily the game's fault. It's just a lot of randomness in there, like kind of like we're talking about now. But sometimes it does have a tendency to fall flat if the right cards don't come out.
Yeah, for me, I think most of mine are just little minor nitpicks. You mentioned the teaching at the beginning, David, and it's not that hard to teach, but part of the best way is just play it and then you see it. But that can be tough for some people to accept that I don't want to play until I understand how it's going. But the reality is, but it can be tough to explain what's happening if you're not just going to start playing. You're going to understand it, right? Do this, do that. Some people could have some trouble with that. The other thing for me is just I don't like the idea of being the banker. Someone has to be the banker. I wouldn't want to be the one that's just hectic and everybody's screaming at you. And for all the other production value, and I think they did this because it's betting and you're handing out money. I don't like to play money. It sticks to each other. It's really tough to handle, and I never like play money, even though I understand why they used it here. I just don't think it quite works well, even though I understand why they did it.
I agree. I hate it.
Yeah, I would use my iron clays or poker chips or something like that for that. I agree.
But I blame Pete though because he spoiled us. So now I can't. If it's not metal or clay, I don't even touch it.
Well, I feel like the way even when we're playing with it, I got a stack of fives and I can't get them apart. It's just I think that's just the nature of that type of paper money. Maybe eventually when it's 30 years old game, then everything will be worn out, but it's tough right now.
Yeah, playing this with real money would be fun.
Yeah.
How much money do we start off in this game? Do you remember, Chris? I don't even know.
I want to say $10, but I'm not sure.
We should bring real money, like everybody puts $10 in.
I don't know. It's not much.
I don't know who's going to fund the bank.
Whoever house it is, right?
Yeah. All right, David, this is another new game, but if we take this to the collector's corner, what do you see?
Yeah, so right now you can find this game on Amazon. It was hard to find for a long time, but I think the goal of this is to get, mass market. And so right now on Amazon, you're looking at $44.99 for this game. So it's about $15 more than Magical Athlete, but again, there's not a lot of used copies on the market. I was still seeing used copies go for like $40. So you might as well just buy it from Amazon at $44.99 and get some free shipping. But
all right, final thoughts, David. I'll start with you.
I really enjoy this game. I think whoever created it just, sometimes I just laugh at all the games that get created, but, just watching hot dog races at baseball game is like, I can make that into a game. I just think is something special. The characters themselves, I love that you can see the eyeballs in each one. They all have a background story if you want to read into them. They're pretty funny as far as how they became mascots. And I enjoy it. I think that I think that this is a game that you can bring out around the holidays, especially. It's probably those games that you're bringing out when you have that group of family or that friends that don't really play board games. I think this is a great one to just get out of your closet and play on the table. So that's kind of where I stand on it. Pass it over to Pete.
Yeah, I agree with you, playing with family and friends. I think this is a lighthearted game. Don't go into it trying to think that you're going to win. You're not. If you do, you got lucky. And, the thing that worries me about it is just the longevity of the game. I mean, it's a great time. It's fun to do it. But I think after playing maybe 2 or 3 races in a night, I'm probably done with it for a little while. Maybe you get another group of people and teach it again. But this is something that I enjoy, but probably I don't want to pull it out, every other game night for me.
Yeah, for me, I really enjoy Hot Streak. I've only played it so much, but every time I play it, again, I don't smile a lot. I'm that introvert, and my mouth hurts when I'm done because I'm doing something I don't do often enough. I'm smiling and laughing the whole time. I've enjoyed every single play, but I agree, Pete. I think I'm probably not going to want to play this every game night. It's not going to be, I don't think it's going to make my top 15 list, but anytime somebody says, hey, how about a game of Hot Streak? I'm sitting down at that table and I know I'm going to have a good time.
Yeah. I mean, I think it needs an expansion already. I want more mascots. That's just me.
That's an easy expansion. It's an easy expansion to bring. All right, well, I got to tell you, that last hot dog is not sitting too well for me, so let's head on over to today's Battle of the Funnest. All right, everyone, the moment of truth has arrived. It's time to separate the men from the boys and the games from the toys. We're pitting these games head-to-head against each other in the ultimate face-off. In one corner, weighing in at 1.2 out of 5, with an overall BGG rating of 8.0, taking its place in the race without a trace of disgrace, tripping you up in its quest for the cup, the cheating challenger, the rule bender contender, eating opponents alive, literally, magical athlete. In the other corner, weighing in at 1.27 out of 5, with an overall BGG rating of 8.0, running down the track like a whack hack on crack, sweating in his costume for assumed doom and gloom, the mascots monarch, the minor league blitzkrieg. Dial his number if you have a gambling problem. Hot Streak. And now let's see which game finishes first in today's Battle of the Funnest Showdown. Now, for anybody new to the show, we're going to evaluate these games head-to-head in 5 different categories: theme and production, mechanisms, value for your time, replayability, and the fun factor. We'll declare a winner in each one, and whichever game wins the most categories wins the entire Battle of the Funnest. So let's find out who's faster to the finish. We'll get it started with theme and production, and I'll go to David.
Yeah, so for me, theme and production, it's fairly easy for me. I just think of the unique box, the characters in it. I'm going to go with Hot Streak on this one. I just think that they both have interesting themes. I like this one better. I think the production's just a little bit better, except for that paper money, but, you know, I'll take it with the good and the bad. So I'm going to go with Hot Streak. I'm going to kick it over to Pete.
Yeah, the money on both of these leaves a lot to be desired, and that's my first upgrade on these. But I agree with you, David. I think the production value, and maybe even more so for the theme. The theme on the other one is just finish a race. You get to the end of the run. At least with here, things are happening. You're trying to get to the finish line, but even more silly things. You're going to trip. You're going to fall down. You're going to get spun around and run the wrong way because you can't see out of your mask and all that stuff. So for me, I'm going to go with Hot Streak as well. Chris, are you going to sweep this one with us?
Yeah, we're going to sweep this one. I think theme, especially, production's great on Hot Streak, and I do like the tokens on Magical Athlete, but that's probably about it with respect to production there. But theme is where it really comes across. This is supposed to be a mascot race. This game does an amazing job of actually feeling like, yes, this is what a mascot race looks like. This is how it pans out. And then just the concept that you're betting on is just hilarious. So I'm going with Hot Streak for theme and production. That's a sweep for Hot Streak. We'll go to mechanisms, and I'll start with Pete.
Yeah, I knew you were going to do that. This one's tough for me for the mechanisms because, as we mentioned before, with Hot Streak, I don't feel like I'm that involved in the game. I'm selecting some cards and watching it. The biggest part of that game is the betting, whereas with Magical Athlete, the interactions while you're playing the game. And, you know, as we talked about, with a roll and move being kind of like the bottom of the barrel when it comes to mechanics. And, you know, I'm not sure we're doing much different with Hot Streak. But to make a long story short here, I'm going to go with Magical Athlete on this because I think the interaction with the cards and that play really is where the game it shines on it. And just the interaction that I have with the other players doing it rather than just sitting on the sideline and hoping that my bets pay off. I'm going to go over to Chris on this one.
Yeah, I'm going to surprise myself here as well. But again, just speaking of mechanisms, I'm looking from the standpoint of a game that can take a mechanism that I think kind of stinks and turn it into something that works. And Magical Athlete does that twice. It does that with the roll and move, and it does that with the player elimination at times. So for me, just the fact that it can use mechanisms that I don't like and that are pretty much frowned upon in the gaming community, take it, make a good game with that being the absolute core, I think is impressive. So I'm going to go with Magical Athlete. David, where do you stand?
I don't even have much to add. I'm just going to ditto what Chris says. I'm going to sweep this for Magical Athlete. I agree. I feel like you just have a little bit more control in this one and maybe the illusion of control compared to Hot Streak. But for that said, I'm going to go with Magical Athlete.
All right. So Magical Athlete sweeps mechanisms. We go to value for your time. I would normally come to me, but I don't know what I want to do yet. So I'm going to go to David while I think about it.
Yeah, this one's interesting. You know, I think they both play fairly around the same amount of time, at least when I'm looking on my BG stats app here. So to me, it just comes down to which one do I have a little bit more fun with, and I played these. I feel like quite a bit recently. For value for my time, when I'm pulling one out of the shelf right now, I actually am pulling out Magical Athlete over Hot Streak, and I own both of them. So that should tell me where my value for my time is going right now. So I'm going to go with Magical Athlete, and I'm going to go kick it over to Pete.
All right. Well, I think we might make Chris's decision fairly easy here. Value for my time. Both of these are race games, and I do enjoy racing, so that's fun. When I look for a game and the value that I get into it is how much interaction do I have while I'm playing the game. And to me, being able to roll the dice, and whether I roll a 1 or a 6, it really doesn't matter, but I'm rolling it and I'm involved in it. And I'm not just moving a character that somebody else, happened. So I'm going to go, I'm going to go with Magical Athlete here just because, again, I feel like I'm part of the game rather than watching a game unfold. Yeah, I love making bets, but you know what? We're probably doing side bets on Magical Athlete anyways. That's my vote. Chris, I'm just going to ask you, are we sweeping or did we change your opinion at all?
I wasn't sure what my opinion was going to be, but before you gave yours, I had made a decision. We're going to sweep it. It doesn't matter what my vote is, but my vote is Magical Athlete for a lot of the reasons you say, but also, hey, if I'm probably going to end up buying both of these before it's all over, I'm probably going to buy Magical Athlete first. So that tells me it's a better value given that the time is about the same. So Magical Athlete takes the lead 2-1 in categories. We'll go to replayability. I'll go first on this one. This is a tough one too. Replayability, how many times is it going to get back? How different is it each time you play it? And I think that second piece is what's going to make the deciding factor for me. Hot Streak is fun, but this is not the fun factor. This is replayability. Hot Streak's fun. I have a great time. It seems the same every time. Magical Athlete is different, although I feel like if I played it enough like David is, it might start to get samey. I think it would take longer. I'm going to go with Magical Athlete, but I'll go to David.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on this one. I'm going to make it easy. I'm just going to say Magical Athlete just because I feel like when you have those, you have the draft a little bit beforehand that helps with replayability. You don't know what characters, there's so many to pull from. And I just think it has more replayability now that I play both a lot. I feel like everything has that hot streak has to offer, but not necessarily with Magical Athlete because you don't always get the same character combinations. And especially in the races, they're very varied. So even if you think you've seen all the characters, just how they play out against each other if they get into the same race tends to vary that race even. So I don't know if I've played, the same race with the same people, even though I've seen a lot of the characters in the game. I'm going to kick it over to Pete.
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed that we all sound like we're in the echo chambers, just saying the same thing on, each game has some different pluses and minuses on this. But yeah, Magical Athlete, again, just by the sheer number of different characters that are there, each race does feel a little bit different. Ultimately, yeah, it's one lap and then we flip it over. But with Hot Streak, as David said, I think I need more characters. I need something to shake that up too. Maybe have a new track where there's a mud pile in the middle or something that we can put there where they slip and slide or something like that. And maybe that's an expansion and they can, give me some funds for coming up with that idea. But I'm also going to go with Magical Athlete on replayability. There's just the interactions, just you never know what's going to come up.
All right, so another sweep by Magical Athlete on replayability. We'll go to Fun Factor. I'll start this one as well. Despite everything I said about voting for Magical Athlete in a lot of cases, the fun factor is still, I think I'm smiling, laughing, and having more fun when I play Hot Streak. I'm going to go with Hot Streak. I'll kick it back to Pete.
All right, well, finally we got a little disagreement here. I'm going to go with Magical Athlete on that. I just love that interaction and being involved in it. And, I talk about this a lot. The fun it is that interaction I have with the other people, trying to influence them, trying to say, oh, trip him or, take so-and-so. So, I'm ahead or behind, or just rooting for somebody else to get knocked out. I do enjoy a Hot Streak. I think it's fun. But again, I just feel like I'm just making side bets and hoping for the best. For me, fun factor. So David, you're going to decide which one of us is right or wrong.
Well, I will say when I look at fun factor, I'm thinking about those standout moments, those memories that, I have in my head. And I think on a previous episode, I had mentioned that one of them almost made my top plays. And so I'm going to have to go with fun factor on this particular moment in time with Hot Streak. I just remember there's just a lot more cheering that goes on just because you don't have control of your character. So when they do something crazy, everybody at the table is like either booing or they're cheering, and they're loud no matter what they are. And I just remember a lot of that going on, where I think you have a lot of it in Magical Athlete. So I'm not saying you don't have those crazy cheer moments too, but normally one person's rooting for their own character versus like when you're playing at a table, 3 or 4 of us could be wanting something to happen just because of all the side bets and stuff. So when a good moment happens, you could have over half the table cheering for it instead of just one person being like, "Oh, look at me," in Magical Athlete. And so for that reason, I like when the table has a slant to it. So I'm going to go with Hot Streak on that.
All right, so Hot Streak wins the fun factor, but it's not going to be enough. With a score of 3-2, Magical Athlete takes the gold and wins today's Battle of the Funnest. And that brings us to the end of yet another episode of the Fifth Meeple Board Game Podcast. We hope you enjoyed our discussion, and if you'd like to get in touch, just email us at thefifthmeeple@gmail.com or reach out to us on social media. Of course, if you like our show, we'd love it if you'd give us a 5-star review and help us grow. And remember, we're now posting video versions of our podcast on YouTube, so check us out there as well. And thanks again to you, the listener. Until next time, remember, slow and steady wins the race. Unless it's an actual race, in which case that's probably a pretty terrible strategy. So, goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Adios, amigos. Somebody have keys in their pocket?
No, that's a dog.
That's Clementine shaking her. I'm trying to keep her from making
It's all
noise.
good. Oh, man.
I had a point and I forgot it now. When you're the one that has to edit it, just it stinks when you know when it's coming.
Yeah. This is the one you're going to try on me, right?
Yeah, maybe this is the one I'll give to you.
All good.
We'll keep going. I'll think of my thing.
You know, as we were talking, I was like, never mind. Sorry.
You're killing me. You guys have other things that are you're muted. You're muted. Oh, this is gonna be a terrible edit.